This video is for you if you are an established consultant, services provider, executive coach, or other expert, and you want to know how to sell to large companies. And before we call it a wrap today, I'll share with you 2 specific metrics that will tell you exactly how close you are to landing your next big client. So let me start by asking you a question. Are you chasing gold bars or just collecting gold stars? At Bold House, we emphasize the difference between just crossing things off your task list that feel really good to cross off versus the activities that are actually going to put you in front of real decision makers, having meaningful conversations that actually go somewhere and put money in your bank account. And more importantly, allows you to do the work that you love to do, the whole reason that you started your company in the first place. With that philosophy in mind, let's look at 3 specific strategies that will help you move the needle in landing large companies as your clients. Strategy number 1 is to get in front of real decision makers. And by real decision makers, I'm talking about the people who not only are experiencing the challenge that you or your firm helps solve, but actually have the authority to hire an outside expert such as yourself. And we're not talking just about visibility. I know a lot of people out there talk about visibility. And look, if you want to be an influencer on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok, visibility matters. That's not what matters when it comes to discerning decision makers inside of organizations. And we used to talk about it in terms of proximity, that proximity is power. But in today's world, it's not even just about proximity. It's about actual real world engagement with decision makers. You having time to spend with discerning decision makers where you can help influence, where they're thinking about solving those very challenges that you're designed to help them solve. That means it doesn't matter how many connections you have on LinkedIn or how many followers you have on your channel on YouTube. It's really about how much time decision makers are investing in conversations and experiences with you as an expert. And let's think about who these decision makers are for just a minute. Generally speaking, they are spending morning until evening in Zoom meetings and responding to emails. They have very little time to actually get done the things that are on their to-do list, let alone take in knowledge and insights from external resources, whether those are industry associations, professional associations, or a solo expert or thought leader such as yourself. Research shows that busy, discerning decision makers have 1 hour a week where they can gain insights, they can absorb content from external resources beyond their organization. That means they have an hour a week to go to a webinar, or they have an hour a week to read a new research report, or they have an hour a week to watch videos on YouTube. The question is your content, are your insights available to them in a place that they're gonna find? And is it valuable enough that decision makers would be willing to take that hour of time that they have to take a look at it now? Or do they think, that's interesting, I'll get to it later, in which case that's just a delayed delete and they never come back to it again. The other helpful thing to keep in mind about this is that it really helps if the engagement that you're looking to create with decision makers is happening on established platforms, such as industry associations or professional associations that have already built the audience with the types of decision makers that you're looking to get in front of. They already have the credibility and they already have the reach to bring them there. If you can leverage those platforms, it's a huge accelerator as opposed to creating your own audience, which can take years and years of time to do in a world where there's always changing algorithms. Strategy number 2 is to have a proven process for how organizations buy from you. Can't tell you how many times we meet experts like leadership coaches, trainers, keynote speakers, consultants, or service providers that have been selling for years and years to organizations, and they don't have a process. They wait for the decision maker to show up to a meeting, to see what that decision maker is going to share with them about the challenge that they're experiencing or the solution that they might have in mind, and then lets the decision maker dictate the process for how that's going to look. Or they show up and go immediately into a needs discovery conversation before creating any credibility or trust with that decision maker, essentially poking the decision maker with a stick to see what hurts, going back to their office with very little information to put together a proposal, which basically amounts to throwing darts in the dark with a blindfold and both of your arms tied behind your back while you're doing that. Not having a process not only costs you opportunities that are on the table, but often it undermines the lifetime value of your clients. You end up in one and done opportunities that go nowhere. Or you have clients that are disappointed in the results they get because you didn't help them build the right ladder against the right wall. I'm going to tell you a secret that not many people know. And that is, outside of supply chain and procurement, decision makers are not ever trained or mentored on how to buy expertise from outside coaches, consultants, or service providers. That means their entire method is basically to show up and throw up. And what I mean by that is they come to the meeting and then they share with you all of the problems and challenges that they're having and then saying, great, now can you put together a proposal for me? That's not an effective strategy for them, and it's not an effective strategy for you. So one of the first things that we like to do with our Bold House members is to make sure that they have a proven process so that they can guide their clients by the hand to make sure that they're getting exactly the solution that they need in that moment, while also laying the groundwork for what they're going to need in the future. That allows our Bold House members to multiply the revenue that they are receiving from their clients by 10 times or more over the lifetime value of that client. But even more importantly, it allows you to do deeper, more transformative work with your clients. How many times have you worked with a client where you thought, wow, there's so much they need from me, and yet they only invested in this one small thing? And that all starts at the very beginning of the relationship, the very first time that that decision maker is buying from you. Strategy number 3 is to time your outreach to decision makers when they are naturally inclined to act. And there are 3 times that decision makers are more likely to take action. And you can remember it as the acronym ACT. A is for alarm bells, C is for calendar, and T is for task list. Let's start with A for alarm bells. And I'm literally talking about the sense that people have their hair on fire. There is something that is so urgent. It either just happened or it's about to happen, and it's creating tremendous pressure for decision makers to do something about it. And here's something that's really interesting. It doesn't necessarily have to be an alarm bell inside the organization that you're reaching out to. It could be an alarm that's been going off for one of their competitors. So there's headlines across CNN and newspapers about one of their competitors in the industry that has had something happen to them. And now all of the other organizations in that same industry are thinking, we don't want to be next. You can use that to your advantage. The C is for calendar. Calendars create natural pressure. When you reach out to decision makers, or even when you're meeting with decision makers, you need to understand what's coming up on their calendar specifically, not theoretically. Specifically, do they have a top leaders meeting that's scheduled in the next 90 days? Will they be going on a conference roadshow in the fall? Do they have a time of the year where they are doing employee reviews and promotions? Is there a big hiring season? And all of this information is easily discoverable both through news media, through websites like Glassdoor.com, and even through one-on-one conversations with decision makers. Here's a great example. There was a recent announcement from a major fast food chain that shared they're going to hire over 350,000 new employees before summer. Every year, fast food companies sell more in the summer because of all the travelers that are on the road for summer vacation. And these hiring surges are not uncommon. There are things like this that happen all of the time. And if you can time your outreach to those calendar items or 90 days before, there's going to be a natural inclination for decision makers to take action because we live in the tyranny of the urgent. And last but not least are task list items. If you can make what you do directly relevant to the to-do list of decision makers, the things that they are working on right now, they're going to be more inclined to attend your breakout session or your webinar or take a one-on-one meeting with you. And by relevant, I mean they literally are working on that type of project, that type of initiative, that type of effort inside their organization right when they see your invitation. So that's the ACT acronym: alarm bells, calendar, task list. Time your outreach, time your content, time your engagement to very specific things, and you're going to see a much higher conversion rate. Now, here are 2 metrics that I promise to share with you that are going to help you know just how close you are to landing your next big client. The first metric is how many decision makers did I engage with this month? And even better, how many new decision makers did I actually engage with this month? And I mean really count it. Know exactly how many new decision makers you had real life engagement with in a month. The second metric is to know how much time that you have spent with each decision maker. Generally speaking, you'll start to see a tipping point after spending 7 hours with decision makers. And that may sound like a lot, but let me tell you something. I know folks who spend 7 hours a day posting content online and have very little to show with it. One of the rules we share with our Bold House Collective members is that conversations create cash flow. So if that's what creates cash flow, that's what you should be measuring in your business. So if conversations create cash flow, the number of conversations that you're having and the amount of time you're spending in those conversations are the most important metrics that as an expert-based business, you need to be tracking, and you need to have a system to track it. So now that you know the 3 most important strategies you need to utilize in order to sell to large companies, a great way to get started is by using LinkedIn to do the types of things I've just shared with you here. I have an incredible video on how to use LinkedIn in order to get consulting clients. I've dropped the link to that in the description right below. Click on that now and we'll continue the conversation there.